Okay, this is the chapter 9 review, and it's on page 513 to 515. Number 9, they wanted you to name two angles. Well, that would be this one, and so they are called DPL. So D to P to L, and then angle DPR. And that's D to P to R. So remember that when you name angles using the three letters, that the middle letter is the vertex of the angle. Moving on, name three rays. And so we have here P towards R, P towards L, and then P towards D. And they each have that little ray symbol over top of them. Okay, and then I cleaned things up a little bit. And then the line is this one right here. And you can either name it RP with the little line symbol over it, or you could call it RL, or you could call it PL. And I guess you could take any one. Yeah, you could. You could take any one of these three letter combinations and flip them around, PR, LR, and LP, and it would all be the same line. To name a line, what you need is 2 points on the line and then draw the little line symbol over top of it. The 3 points are just the letters, so R, P, D, and L. For segments, we have from R to P, so that segment symbol over it. From R to L, from P to L, and then from P to D. And again, that little segment symbol over top of each one of those. Moving on, this was not in the chapter review in the textbook, but it was things that I wanted you to know. So what are these? This is a point. This is a segment, specifically a line segment. This is a ray. This is a line. And this is a sketch of a plane. Naming this, when we name rays, we always start with the point end, the end where there is no arrow, and then the other end and the arrowhead, the little ray symbol always points to the right. So we're going to have to start with W on this one, even though it's on the right-hand side, because my symbol on top always has to point to the right. And then this is a line segment, so DL with a line segment symbol, and then this is a line HR. On these two, you can switch the order and it doesn't matter, and they are the same thing. On these two, the order of the letters does matter. Then we're back into the book. Name all the angles that are congruent to 1. So 1 and 3 would be congruent, so because they're vertical angles. But 3 and 5 are alternate interior angles, plus 1 and 5 are corresponding angles. So angle 5 is another one. And then once you have 5, you can get 7 because it's vertical to 5 or corresponding to 3. Pairs of supplementary angles, these are angles that are on a line together. And so it could be 1 and 2. So you could do angle 1 and angle 2. You could do angle 2 with angle 3 because they're on that line together. So angle 2 with angle 3. You could do angle 3 and angle 4. You could do angle 1 and angle 4. And then you could do the same thing down here in the bottom. 5 with 6, 6 with 7, 7 with 8, and 8 with 5. So again, that was 5 and 6, 6 and 7, 7 and 8, 8 and 5. So any two pairs. Name all pairs of corresponding angles. There are 4 pairs. So 1 is the top left angle in this clump of angles. In this clump of angles, what's the top left angle? Well, that would be angle 5. So angle 1 and angle 5. Make sure you have your little angle notations in there. Angle 2 is in the top right of its clump of angles. Go down to the bottom clump and you get angle 6. Angle 3 is in the bottom right corner of its clump of angles. That matches with angle 7 down in the bottom, and then 4 with 8. Name the pairs of alternate interiors. That would be 4 and 6. Alternate interior, they are interior or between these two lines, and they are on alternate sides. And then 3 and 5 are the other pair. Okay, in number 18, they tell me that this is 75 degrees. From that, I can figure out angle 1 because it's got to be 180 minus 75. So it's 105 degrees. If 1 is 105, so is 3. If 1 is 105, so is 5 because they're corresponding angles. 1 and 3 are vertical angles. 2 and 4 are vertical angles, so they're congruent. 5 and 7 are vertical angles, so they're congruent. 2 and 6 are corresponding angles, so they're congruent. And 4 and 8 are corresponding angles, so they're congruent. So there's all of my angles on that diagram. Congruent triangles, number 23, list the congruent corresponding parts. You'll have 6 congruent statements. So angle T is congruent to, my little squiggle went, angle P, and I can see that by the marking. Angle, you could just have S. It's more properly named QSP and TSP, but if you just have S, that's fine. So then that forces angle Q to be congruent to angle R because it's the only other angle left. PS is marked as congruent to TS, and then this side here, TR, is going to be congruent to PQ. That's this side, these two sides here. And then the last thing would be Q to S and R to S. QS and RS. Now the congruent statement, T and P were congruent, and S was congruent to itself, and Q and R were congruent. So there's your triangle congruent statement. Write a congruent statement for the triangle, and then give the reason. This is angle, side, angle. Here, this angle right here is going to be congruent because it's a vertical angle. So yes, I can say these triangles are congruent using side, angle, side. So let's list our things that are congruent. Angle C is going to match up with G. Angle D is going to match up with angle F. And you may have here simply E with E. That's fine. It's CED with FEG. I ran out of room. But if you just have E there, that's fine. DE is marked with 1 tick mark, so it matches EF with 1 tick mark. CE has 2 tick marks, so it matches with EG, which has 2 tick marks. And again, notice I've got my segment symbol here. And then that means that CD is congruent to FG. And on any of these segments, you can flip-flop the order of the letters, and that's fine. And so we have C going with G, F, nope, wrong triangle, D and F being congruent, and then E being congruent. And again, your order here of the three letters can be different as long as the C and G are in the same place, the D and F are in the same place, and the E's are in the same place. And this, we could prove it was congruent by side angle side. Here, we can say that ED is congruent to AB because they're both 4. BC is congruent to EF because they're both 5. And AC is congruent to FD because they're both 6. That means the angle between the 4 and 5 is E. Over here, the angle between the 4 and 5 is B. So angle E is congruent to angle B. And then between the 4 and 6 is D. Between the 4 and 6 is A. So D goes with A. And then that means that angle C goes with angle F. And so our triangle, E, well, let me do the ABC triangle first. B goes with E, that's using this statement. A went with D, and C went with F. Now again, your order of your letters can be different as long as the B and E are in the same spot, and the A and D are in the same spot, and C and F are in the same spot. And this we got by side. Word problems, number 25 on page 515 says a house is built on a lot that is 70 feet wide and 100 feet deep. The shorter side of the lot faces the street. So here's the road. So this is 70, and then it's 100 this way. The house must be set off from the street at least 25 feet. So we know we've got to go back 25 feet. And it must be 20 feet from the back lot line. So 20 feet this way. And 10 feet from each side lot line. So 10 feet this way and 10 feet this way. What are the maximum length and width of the house? So if you look at this diagram, you can see we've cut off 25 feet from here and 20 feet from here. So that is 45 feet from that 100. That's 55 feet that I can have in this direction. And then on the side to side, and obviously not to scale, I've taken 10 feet off of the 70 on both sides. So I've taken 20 feet off. So I can have a 50 by 55 house. And the 50 would be along the front and the 55 would be along the back. And then the next one that I had you do was on page 478. It was from that original section. And it is number 9. It says a student is standing in the middle of a line. So that's that person. And there are 23 students ahead of her. So I'm not going to draw 23 people up, but there's 23 people in front of her, plus the 23 people behind her, because it says she's in the middle of the line. So 23 people behind her and in front of her. So 23 plus 23 plus 1 would be 47 people. In the next one, we are doing the circumference of a circle. In 26 in the chapter review, they gave you that there was a diameter of 14 inches. So we're going to write our equation first. Then we're going to fill in our numbers. We're going to replace the pi with 3.14, and then we're going to replace the d with 14. And you should have enough room here to do the multiplication. 4 times 4 is 16. Carry the 1. It would be a 5. 4 times 3 is 12. Placeholder 0. 1 times 4 is 4. Times 1 is 1. Times 3 is 3. So we get 6, 9, 3, 4, and I need 2 decimal places. I get 43.96 centimeters. And then I added another one where you're using the radius formula. So here it's 2 pi r. So C equals 2 times 3.14 times a radius of 3. And again, I mentioned here's where the commutative property is helpful because I can rearrange and do my 2 times 3 first and get 6. And so I have 3.14 times 6. 24, carry the 2. 6 times 1 is 6, plus 2 is 8. 3 times 6 is 18. So we get a circumference of 18.84 inches. And then these are additional questions that they didn't really cover in your chapter review. LM is right here. So I want to know things that are parallel to it. Well, TF is, I think that's an F. Yes, it is. WP is and BH is. And WP is because I could run a plane like down that way. So those that I have circled, and these are congruent segments. So TF, BH, and WP. And then it wants to know, I want to know segments that are skew to this. So to get that, here's your segment. Go to the opposite corners from M, right here and right here. And then take the one up and back along the other edge. So it's going to be TW, WB, FP, and PH. And again, the order of these letters, you can flip-flop the order and it's fine. And then 4 segments that intersect LM. So they're going to touch those 2 points there. So that's this one, this one, this one, and this one. So TL, BL, that's the ones touching at point L. FM, and HM, and those are the ones that intersect at point M. Classifying angles, these are adjacent because they share a vertex and a ray. They share this right here. And then these two are alternate interior. These are corresponding. They're in the same location in their clump of angles. And then these two are vertical angles, angles which occur from 2 lines that intersect. This is a right angle. Pay attention to your instructions on this. We're classifying them differently. This is obtuse. This is acute. Acute is less than 90. Obtuse is more than 90, but less than 180. Right is 180, and it will be noted by that little square. And then this one is a straight angle. In this, circle the correct angle and side length classification. We're going to circle one term in each row. So looking at this, I can see I have a right angle marked here. So this is a right triangle. And none of the sides are congruent, so it's scalene. On this one, I have an angle that is more than 90 degrees, so it's obtuse. And I have 2 sides congruent, so it's isosceles. And then lastly, I have an acute, all acute angles, small angles, and all 3 sides are congruent, so it's equilateral. Name 3 radii. Radii have to start or have to start at the center. So we have OA, OB, and OF. Again, you can flip-flop the order of the letters. It could be AO, BO, and FO. The diameter is to be a diameter is a chord that goes through the center of the circle. And then 2 chords, we have 2, CD and AB. Chords are line segments whose endpoints are points on the circle. Congruent triangles. So from this statement, we can figure these all out. Angle P, oops, got to fix that. We'll call that angle T. And I'll fix that on yours before you get it. So angle T is going to be congruent to angle B because it's the middle letter here. And so I'm going to choose the middle letter there. Angle D, which is the last letter, is going to be congruent to angle R. Don't forget your angle symbol in front. Side AB, that's the first and last letter, so I'm going to pick the first and last letter in the other triangle, MR. And then finally, MT is the first and second letter, so it's going to be the first and second letter in that. And then this page was your 9-7 homework, and constructions are not on the test. But I had you do those because they're fun and it's a good way to get a little practice on that before you do it in geometry. Please, please, please review your flashcards. There were things on your flashcards that were not on this review. I did not go over polygons on this review, like quadrilateral, trapezoid, parallelogram, rectangle, rhombus, square. So you also have your quiz that you can go over and review those. So review your flashcards. There is a lot on this test that is terminology. And then, of course, like here, where you know what the term is, you apply that term. So review your flashcards as well.